Well, yeah, you're right. I did.
Good evening, everybody. For the record, it is Thursday, October 28th, 2021, 5:15 p.m. Time for the regular meeting of the Wenatchee City Council. As always, we start our meeting with a pledge to our flag. So, Councilmember Cuevas, would you lead us?
Indeed, sir. Thank you.
Yep.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Cuevas.
You're welcome, sir.
And for the record today, we have 6 council members present, and Linda Harold is doing what is the Thursday night event? I lose track.
After hours?
After hours, because it's at the convention center tonight, so she's hosting. So, our first item on today's agenda is the consent items, which includes approval of the agenda, vouchers, minutes from the previous meetings, authorizing the mayor to sign a SWAT agreement, and I think Councilmember Huffaker wants to remove the redistricting to an action item. So I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I would make a motion to approve the agenda, vouchers, and minutes from previous meetings. Also, a motion for the City Council to authorize the mayor to sign the revised interlocal agreement for the East Cascades multi-jurisdictional SWAT team, and a motion to move the last item to item C on our action items tonight.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Huffaker, second by Councilmember Hornby to adopt the consent items as follows: to approval of the agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes from the previous meetings. A motion for the City Council to authorize the mayor to sign the revised interlocal agreement for the East Cascade multi-jurisdictional SWAT team, and to move the redistricting analysis prepared by Mr. Cooper to item C on today's action items. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Citizen comment. Anybody in the audience wish to address the City Council on something that's either on or not on today's items? Seeing no takers. The first item today is regarding a payment preservation. Is Jake here? No, you don't look like Jake. You look more like Rob.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So just this is preparing for our 2022 pavement preservation program. We had a request for proposals, and KPG came out as the top consultant. We're currently in negotiations right now on for their services, their design services, and so we're asking tonight that you would authorize the mayor to complete that negotiation on this design contract for the 2022 pavement preservation program. Just a side note, we are hovering around, the project's currently hovering around $3 million, and it'll be doing, again, a grind and overlay. And when we bring in a consultant like KPG, most of their work is on the design of the ADA ramps that we've talked about that we have to do when we're doing this. So that's the lion's share of the engineering part of this job. So any questions?
And we've talked a little bit about if the City Council wanted to throw a little bit more general fund reserve dollars, it would be a 2023 program, not this one?
Yeah, so this will essentially take down all of the reserves that we had, and we'll be left with about the 1.2 million per year from REIT and the Transportation Benefit District. And as I've been here before, we really should be doing about 2.2 to 2.7 million per year investing in that. So we'll have I think we want to get this underway, and then we'll start to ramp up for that 23 overlay, the preservation program. You had said, go ahead and prepare for that, and then come back as we kind of get through 22, 23 to see if we can infuse some more money into that.
Okay. Any questions for Rob? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Well, Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the City Council to authorize the mayor to negotiate with KPG for design services for the 2022 pavement preservation project number 2110, and further authorize the mayor to sign a contract on behalf of the city.
You got a motion by Councilmember Bailey, second by Councilmember Kulas to authorize the mayor to negotiate with KPG for design services for the 2022 pavement preservation, to sign a contract on behalf of the city. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Yeah, but a lot of changes to the Wenatchee City Code regarding, at least on the police side. So I see Captain Reinfeld is here with us today. So Captain, come on up.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chief has handed off to me a set of ordinance changes, many of which deal with very obsolete portions of our city code. You can go through them quickly. The first is an amendment to Wenatchee City Code 1 sub 12 sub 020, establishing certain offices that are appointed. I'm not sure the driver behind this one, but it obviously had something missing and deals with the department directors, including the chief of police, city engineer, and other appointments, with new language defining each of those and saying that they are appointed positions. The additional portion of this one, however, spells out some duties to the chief of police, which is designed to fix, again, some archaic language in our city code and ensure that matches what it needs to be with state law and our current state of affairs. The final portion of this first one has to do with bonds that have been required. I think this is the oldest portion of the city code we're looking at here. I think it actually goes back to like 1908, the portion that required a bond for the finance director, city clerk, and chief of police. And this amendment would maintain the bonds as they're required by state law, but make that the city will obtain the bonds and pay for them. So that's the changes in the first ordinances. And there's also some repeals, including, again, how the chief of police was supposed to be accountable for certain monies, which is not in our city structure. That money all goes through finance. So that's the first of the ordinances. The next has to do, humorously, with a section of the Wenatchee City Code 1 sub 32 sub 040, beer kegs, storage, and handling fees, which is a surprising inclusion within the city code. Great one. However, there are a number of RCWs that are listed in the new language, which would make it reflect lost and found property. There have been a number of changes to RCW in the last few years about the value, how we dispose of property, what can be disposed of immediately, and how we handle that for what period before turning it over. So the language is to adopt a significant number of subchapters of RCW 6321 to deal with lost and found property. I don't have those actual RCWs printed out here or anything to go through them individually, but they do have to do with lost and found property.
Gotta like a city code that references beer kegs.
It's amazing where there's RCW that still references shopping carts and milk crates as well, are still in the state law that haven't. Stealing shopping carts is different than stealing cars or other property from a store. It's fascinating.
Yeah. I would guess that the beer keg thing probably goes back to when they were hauling them up and down the avenue in wagons.
I would guess so as well, sir. Some of these are just very archaic. The next ordinance in question has to do with Chapter 1, Sub 60 of the Wenatchee City Code relating to police reserve officers' retirement and pension plan. 2 years ago, yes, it was in 2020, we finally closed our reserve officer program formally. In 2019, our last two were separated from the program, and we actually just closed it out in its entirety in 2020. There have been a number of changes to requirements for training and made it really impossible for reserve volunteer officers to stay qualified unless they were working with us somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 100 hours a month, which is hardly a reserve volunteer kind of position. And the liability for entities is fairly great to have less trained and yet fully authorized and fully commissioned personnel out doing law enforcement. It's something that we're seeing across the state. As the rules have changed, more and more programs are just closing down permanently because it's no longer tenable. So the request for this ordinance change is to repeal in its entirety 160 of Wenatchee City Code referring to that pension and retirement.
Were there any funds left in that retirement pension plan at the moment?
I do not know that, sir. And I'm not sure if it spelled out the authorization to pay for it. What has occurred since I've been involved with the police department, I was our reserve coordinator for several years and then had supervisory oversight over the coordinator. The Washington State Volunteer Firefighters and Reserve Officers Pension Board is a thing, and the city would annually pay a certain premium into a pension for when we had volunteer firefighters, when we still had Wenatchee Fire and Rescue, and then still when we have Wenatchee police department's reserve program, we would make payments to that pension plan. Those payments ceased in 2019 when our last two separated.
So wherever the pension is not under our control and somebody else is in
No,
charge of
it's
it.
complete. The nice thing is it's administered by someone else. We have nothing to do with it except validate periods of service, and that's closed. We no longer have communication. They will apply for their pension through them and receive their payment therefrom.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, any questions for Edgar? I know we went through this at the public safety meeting as well, I think. Yeah.
The only other one is the 108050 about a police court and a police judge. We have yet to find anyone who has the slightest idea what this was about. And certainly not something we use. The state has very specific rules for courts now, which we follow. And our municipal court, or the paper court for traffic court only, doesn't apply to this. This is irrelevant and obsolete language.
All right, any questions for Edgar? If not, I think we could probably, if someone wants to just read that whole motion, we could probably just take it all at once.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion for the city council to approve and authorize for the mayor's signature ordinance number 202123, repealing Wenatchee City Code 1.08.050 relating to police judge and police court. Also to approve and authorize the mayor's signature for ordinance number 2021-24, amending Wenatchee City Code 1.12.020 relating to appointive officers, Wenatchee City Code 1.12.040 relating to the chief of police duties, Wenatchee City Code 1.12.050 bonding of specified employees, and Wenatchee City Code 1.12.060 relating to the chief of police accounting for monies. And for the council to approve and authorize the mayor's signature for ordinance number 2021-25, amending chapter 1.32 Wenatchee City Code relating to unclaimed confiscated property, and motion for the city council to approve and authorize the mayor's signature for ordinance number 2021-26, repealing chapter 1.60 Wenatchee City Code relating to police reserve officers' retirement and pension plans.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Kulas, second by Councilmember Hornby, to approve and authorize the mayor's signature on ordinance number 2021-23, repealing Wenatchee City Code 1.08.050 relating to police judge and police court. Also to approve and authorize the mayor's signature for ordinance 2021-24, amending Wenatchee City Code 1.12.020 relating to the appointive offices. Wenatchee City Code 1.12.040 relating to the chief of police duties. Wenatchee City Code 1.12.050 bonding of specified employees. And Wenatchee City Code 1.12.060 relating to the chief of police accounting for monies. To authorize and approve the mayor's signature on ordinance number 2021-25, amending chapter 1.32 of the Wenatchee City Code relating to unclaimed confiscated property. And a motion to approve and authorize the mayor's signature on ordinance number 2021-26, repealing chapter 1.60 Wenatchee City Code relating to police reserve officers' retirement and pension plan. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Captain.
Thank you, sir.
You bet. And item C is regarding the council's restricted redistricting analysis. So Laura, do you want to come up and sort of explain to the council what we did, why we did it, timing and results?
Sure. Good evening, Council. Laura Merrill, Executive Services Director. So this is the redistricting analysis based on the 2020 census. So this is something that we are required to do when the new data comes out. So we received the 2020 census data back in August, and we engaged with the same consultant who originally districted, I don't know if that's the word, a couple years ago here at the city. So we use the same consultant to be able to, he had kind of that background. And so he took a look at the census data and determined that based off of the population growth that there's no need to redistrict, that the districts are consistent with the, corresponding regulations and balances. And so that is the letter that he provided in the packet. And I can answer any other questions you may have.
So this is something we're going to have to do every 10 years when the U.S. does its census. We'll have to then turn around and update, unless we do some sort of major annexation.
Right.
We'll have to go through this process fairly regularly to make sure your districts are still in accordance with the Fair Voting Act or whatever the Washington State Voters Act is. And so we just wanted you guys to know that we had done it and that there were no changes. And so should be good for another 10 years unless we do a major annexation, which I don't think that we'll do one that'll be significant enough to change the numbers.
Your Honor, the only reason I felt it was important to bring it forward is just to open it up to have a little discussion if anybody had any comments about it. I think it's interesting that after 10 years, there's really only a 6.35% difference in any of the districts. So I think that's encouraging that our city is continuing to grow equally. So I appreciate the efforts you guys put into this. Thank you.
Yeah, I find it interesting that, the plus or minus, 5% kind of rule.
Yeah.
For, again, for a city our size, that would account for, to go over 5% would be a pretty significant
Yep.
number of folks in one district to skew it any around. So it, yeah.
And I think it's interesting, and Councilmember Kulas knows more about this than I'll ever know, but you certainly hear some scatter around Eastern Washington about districting with county commissioner seats in other cities. And so it's, we were sort of cutting edge, I think, for a community our size.
Yep, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Counties not so much. They're kicking and dragging their feet to going into the 21st century.
Yep. And I think, is it Yakima, one of the counties is having some issues with
To have.
in terms of voting for commissioner by district.
Yeah, Yakima County settled, reached an agreement, settled a lawsuit that they are moving to all district, which is 3 elections, and all positions are up next year
Okay.
to reset. Franklin County reached an agreement on a lawsuit, and then they withdrew their agreement
Okay.
on it. They're still fighting. And Franklin County is, I think Yakima County is now minority majority as well. Franklin County was the first minority majority county in the state.
Okay.
And they're just having difficulty.
Yeah.
Just, and I may have missed it somewhere, but in the, the release of the information on the population, what is the census official number for the city of Wenatchee now?
Oh,
35,508.
35,508 is the number. Yep.
35,508. Thank you.
Yep. I know we're growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the packet, there is a transmittal letter there from the Washington State Redistricting Commission. The link is there if you wanted to kind of do
okay.
a deep dive
Okay.
into the data.
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Your Honor, I make a motion for the city council to accept the redistricting analysis prepared by redistricting consultant William S. Cooper based on population information from the 2020 U.S. Census.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Hornby, second by Councilmember Bailey to accept the redistricting analysis prepared by redistricting consultant William S. Cooper based on population information from the 2020 U.S. Census. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mayor's report. I think I'll be brief. I've only got a couple of items. We will be bringing to you for your consideration in a week or two a 2 or 3 year extension with the Humane Society for Animal Control. That will be coming your way. They came to us sort of late in the summer. Obviously, costs are going up, so they were looking for a little bump, and so we've given them a little bump. And I guess it's 3 year contract total.
It's a 3-year contract, so
Yeah.
starting 2022 to 24. Yeah.
Yeah, so you'll see that coming, I think, in a couple of weeks. The Finance Committee spent quite a bit of time today on the lodging tax and the chamber contract, and so I think there was an agreement today to put in the budget the smaller amount of lodging tax dollars, $445,000 for lack of a better number, and then plugging the gap with TPA dollars to get the chamber what they wanted in terms of a full budget. So that'll get communicated from Laura to to Shiloh and their team, and it'll be incorporated in our budget when we see it final in the next couple of weeks or so. I think Brad's working on the budget. The actual budget deficit and the recurring items are sort of shrinking a little bit. I think with SWAC's number came in quite a bit lower than we had thought based on the grant they got, so that was helpful. Our insurance number came in less than we had thought, so that was helpful. And then with the fire district, we've had a couple of different contracts with them. We've had what we call a payment in lieu of taxes because all of the city property doesn't pay property tax. And so we have to come up with an agreement with them, and we've been doing that for a while. We've also been paying them additional money to do fire marshal activities and checking the fire hydrants. And they're doing well enough financially. They said they can just continue to do that without having payment from the city. They'll just do it under the payment in lieu of taxes number. So we had built that into the budget, so we got to take that out of the budget. So the number is sort of shrinking a little bit. I think the last couple of items will be Rivercom's number when we get that. So other than that, I don't expect a lot of changes. So the unbalanced part of the reoccurring was in the mid sixes, and now it's in the high fours, and it's hopefully working down a little bit more from that. So keep our fingers crossed as we get you guys a final budget for your consideration here in the next couple of weeks.
Anything on the, the upcoming on the jail? Is that pretty much going to be
So
what it is?
Yeah, Brad's in charge of the jail contract. You want to comment to Councilmember Bailey about how that's going? We had an interesting week with that, so maybe Brad will get you updated.
Good evening. The way our jail contract is currently structured is that we pay a percentage. If our inmates are X percentage of the total inmates, then that's the portion of their budget that we cover. We locked in an amount last year, and unless our population percentage changes drastically, we stay with the same contract amount plus a 5%, basically 5% CPI for this next year. It looks like we're going to be within a very similar range of population as we had last year. So we think that our jail contract will only increase by the 5% cost of living on their budget. As the mayor was mentioning, our jail inmate populations are a little bit unpredictable right now. There's still some COVID restrictions at the jail, I believe, on how many people they can take, and then I believe there's also been different things happening with how Chelan County is prosecuting versus how we're prosecuting, and how the exchange between felonies and misdemeanors, where the county takes felony charges and we take the misdemeanor charges. Just that mix has been very unstable or volatile.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It changes a lot, where in the past it's often remained a little bit more stable.
We've been very consistent at between 11 and 13% of the population. Suddenly this last month, we're at 24% of the population. So, and again, some of it is because we're hiring more officers. When you have more officers, there's lots going on, and their population went down. I mean, there's this whole mix of stuff, but Brad watches it. I know that's the first thing he looks at when he gets the report, is he just writes down to our numbers and recalculates where we're supposed to be. But yeah, so that contract I think we did a 3 or 4 year contract last year when we did this. So we got a ways to go, I think, on that one.
I think 2023 is the last year.
Yeah.
I think it was a 3 year.
Yeah, we did 3 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it used to be annual.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is Captain Reinfield still here? Did he leave? He left? Okay. I was going to ask him about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
All right. Council members, anything for the good of the order?
I just wanted to bring up, disturbed, I guess, by the letter from the Pearl Street
Yeah.
citizenry. I think everybody got a copy of that, or it was in my box today when I picked up my mail. Drug house, and it's just, toxic environment, from the letter, just the things that were said, and whether, again, how you never know, but burning tires and drugs and needles and stuff and being thrown in their backyards and all this kind of stuff. So I'd like to follow up on this or have, a conversation with the chief. Just, it's untenable and it's just simply unacceptable in any way, shape, or form. And so,
Yeah, and I sent it off to both Edgar and Captain Chance and Chief Crown, so they both have it and they're aware of it. And we go through these things off and on. We had one for a long time over by Lincoln Park, and it took us a couple of years to get it finally cleaned up and repossessed and sold into somebody else. And so this is one I'm sure they're aware of. I'll follow up with them and have them make sure they get a hold of you, and we'll just let them know, at least they can tell you where they're at with respect to what they can and can't do. And,
and I realize all of that, and just, I know we,
in this particular instance, I believe the owner is actually living in the house.
the owner
so-
that's letting all this happen lives in the basement, so. So,
That makes it even more complicated. So,
right. But,
yeah, I'll follow up with Chief and make sure somebody gets a hold of you. They can get you up to date on what's happening.
good, thank you.
Yep. Council members, anything for the good of the order?
Just quick update from public safety, and then I think anybody on finance probably got the report today. There was a letter from Matt Smeller about concerns with areas around the high school where kids are crossing the roads. So we're trying to see if we can maybe get some more speed zone radar signs out there, see if we can get people to slow down and at least be thoughtful as they go through those areas.
It's specifically Red Apple Road, and it's the racers coming down Skyline and the racers going up Skyline.
Right.
And it's
But-
only going to be exasperated when the apartments open up, because we didn't require enough residential off-street parking there in the events. And one of the cures that the neighborhood is going to expect is a traffic circle at Vista Place and Red Apple. They're not going to accept anything less than that.
Well, one of the other things that Chief Crown actually brought up is doing some traffic calming with actually bump outs and things like that. So there are several things they're looking at. Obviously, the least cost and quickest of all those is some of the radar signs with the actual strobe that makes it think somebody's getting a picture taken.
Yeah.
It's not the end-all solution, but it's one that we can do fairly inexpensive.
Is Vista
But then
the
I
one
think
that's
he
also
was-
got the little blind exit when you come off of Vista onto Red Apple?
Yeah,
Is that the one that's sort of got the blind?
Yeah, it's just a short stretch between Red Apple and Leanne, Vista Place.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it kind of winds up the hill, and
Yeah.
I think really the city did a really nice job, and when we did Orchard Avenue many years ago, and at that time the city declared its policy that it was going to do that approach for any of the additional residential sub-arterial streets. So, and we did a little bit of that on the other part of Red Apple where we saved
The tree?
the Dimmitt's
Yeah,
oak tree.
yeah.
And I can guarantee you the neighbors expect the same from the city in the redesign, that their trees and their shrubs are not going to disappear.
Right.
That they're going to encroach basically and provide that traffic calming feel. But the traffic is horrible, fast. Just
But-
today, horribly fast going uphill.
Jose will tell you it's not just Red Apple, it's all around the high school because high school kids tend to get out of there and they're in a hurry.
These aren't high school kids.
Well,
I know my neighbors. I know the
I can't-
cars that my neighbors drive.
I can't speak for everyone.
Yeah.
The most concerning is during the school hours, after school hours. This happens mostly high schoolers because I've been seeing it every day. And we need to work on the safety.
That and our, the parking at the auxiliary football field and track is ludicrous.
Yep.
For events. Because all pickups now stick out in the travel lane.
Yep.
And they stick over what would be the sidewalk. So, yeah, what were you saying, that we own about half of that?
We own
That concrete
Yeah,
monstrosity?
yeah, we own a big chunk of that, yeah.
But we're going to have to
Yeah.
figure this out.
It would be nice for us to be able to do the sidewalks in there and clean that up, and the school district put in a lavatory and a bathroom for visitors, and it'd be nice to clean all that up, and then, like you say, do a traffic circle or something to slow people down coming down the hill, because on both sides, it gets pretty,
They really come down the hill.
yeah.
Don't disagree with that.
Okay, yeah, but we did get, I think the chief's got some bids on some more cameras, and Edgar talked to us today at finance, and he'll get us at least a request from what they want to do in terms of which product is best, and
And then we'll take it to that next level as the apartments are going in there and see if there's some other traffic calming that can be put in there
Speed bumps.
based on engineers' recommendations.
You get airborne on speed bumps. Yeah. All right, and then, so I think we are meeting next week, right? We got a couple special meetings as we get towards the end of the year, so we'll see you guys on the 4th, and then again on the 18th, and then again on the 2nd, and then again on the 9th. So, and then we should not just have to decide today, but at some point, we should start thinking about that meeting around December 29th or December 30th, where we say goodbye to a few and welcome a few more and get folks sworn in. So you might start looking at your calendars for usually we do it at noon. You know, there's a Wednesday and Thursday in there. So just start thinking about that. We'll talk about it here in a week or two and get Tammy on getting the judges down here and doing that little process. So.
Good.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. We're adjourned. Thank you.